Welcome to the Wealth Without Wall Street podcast, your guide to understanding how to get out of the Wall Street rat race and start your own mailbox money lifestyle. Now, don't let these handsome Southern draws fool you. These financial minds are teaching our country to enhance savings, increase cash flow, and create passive income, all without the help of Wall Street. Are you ready to break through? Now here are your hosts, Russ Morgan and Joey Murray.
Russ, welcome into the show and welcome in your brand new truck, man. That thing is looking beast mode out there.
Yeah. Do you remember from the 80s, the A-Team?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
You remember Mr. T?
The van?
Yeah. You know what Mr. T's name was?
Mr. T?
No, in the A-Team.
No, I don't remember that.
B.A.
B.A.?
Dude, I was riding down the road today. B.A. For sure.
I mean, I got to tell you this. You have struggled with the 06 Yukon for far, far, far too long. And of course, I don't know if everybody knows this, but when we were in Mississippi recently, it was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah, I couldn't take the abuse. Today we're going to get into personality testing and very specific, not like this just real high fluff stuff, but like in the weeds, who you are, what makes you the person you are. And you guys were challenging my inner spirit.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, no more. Like, I'm done.
Yeah.
It's
so,
over.
yeah, when you could no longer open the back lift gate on that Yukon to get our luggage out, we were climbing through the back seat at 95-degree heat in Mississippi. I mean, I wanted you to get a new car at that point.
Yeah, I'm going to put you in the back of this truck now the next time you ride with me because how much grief you gave me over that. But yes.
All right. We got to talk about this, okay? So, of course, we're talking about Culture Index today.
What is the Culture Index, by the way?
Okay, Culture Index is, and I'm going to botch this up because I'm not the expert on this, but Matt White is our guest, obviously. He's a licensee out of Nashville, Tennessee, and a good friend of ours and client. And he talks about, I mean, this is almost like peering into the soul of people, just from analyzing data points and energy levels and how people are seeing their job behaviors and all these type of things. It's not like the DISC test.
No,
right?
DISC is more like forced choice. Like, would you say, Joey, that you are more, highly social, somewhat social, not social? Like, which one mostly fits you?
You have to choose one of those, right?
That's forced choice.
Yeah. So of course I'm highly social. So are you. But yeah, so you had to choose certain things. But in this test, you just pick the words or the things that describe you. So you have the choice of which ones you're going to pick.
Yeah, you got like 170 choices, and you go through and you're deciding, which, by the way, there's some words in there that are a little bit over my IQ level.
You got to get the dictionary out. Yeah.
And I think the whole point is you're not supposed to go look up the word because then that kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're supposed to pick words that describe you, so then it's more of a free choice model. So this is one that is really not as manipulative because it's going to continue to ask you questions over and over and over. And where sometimes people can go, I want people to think that I'm outgoing when I'm really an introvert. Or, I really want people to think that I love going really slow and patient and where really I'm anxious constantly and I need to go fast. This really, it's going to pull it out in a way that you can't manipulate.
You can't game it. You can't game the system, which I appreciate that about this survey.
So what's the so what though? Why is this important to us?
Well, I mean, think about it. As business owners, making the best hiring decision, what do we normally do? You and I, we go from the gut.
Oh, yes. How many times in my life have I hired somebody just because I'm like, ooh, I really like this person. This person is going to be great.
Yeah. And guess what? It's because we like to sell, so we like to be sold.
And
in that interview, that's their chance to sell themselves, and we buy it.
Well, and also, don't you like people who are mostly like you? I mean, our office has constantly been made up of people like us, which is fun. We have lots and lots of fun together. But as it relates to doing different projects or tasks, sometimes you get a lot of people who are a lot alike, and you don't get a whole lot done.
That's right. So the cost of turnover is huge.
Yes.
Right? The cost of having people in the wrong seats, huge. Emotional energy, financially, all these things.
Well, one of the things I noticed that we got from this interview and going through this workshop with Matt, because we just did a 2-day workshop with him, it was intense, is that also there's sometimes where our normal natural traits completely differ from what our jobs are that we're in. And when you see that and you can totally kind of take this like peering view into somebody, through analytics and not just through, I think you're like, man, this person's unhappy doing what they're doing. Like, this is not for them. And we are, as business owners, when we employ people who are not geared toward their job, like intuitively, like it is who God's made them to be, it's bad.
We're doing them a disservice, ourselves a disservice. And I love, it's almost like a report card, right? I can sit there instead of just kind of hoping that I pick up if this person's happy in this role or not. You can literally see the score and say, man, this guy's struggling in this role. And what can I do to help coach him or find him a better place?
But it's so insightful. I mean, one of the things, this thing that we learned and measured is whether somebody looks out the front window, meaning are they forward thinking, or do they look more historically?
Right.
And that's so important. Like when you and I, who are very, visionaries, we're constantly casting vision. Like, I mean, what are we doing right now? It's important for us to know as business owners that when we have people who are more historical thinking, more task oriented, not project oriented, that we need to be real careful not to get too far ahead of them. We need to leave details. The analogy Matt made while we were together in the workshop was, you two are pilots up at 30,000 feet, and you're looking at things and you're adjusting the coordinates just a tad. You don't even notice the difference up there, right? It doesn't even seem like you've barely moved the trajectory of the plane. Yet on the ground, for the people who are on the ground, you've moved the target 10 miles.
Yeah.
And that was kind of insightful to me to know that when we figure out who we are as business owners, how we're made up, when we figure out who our team is and who we want to have on our team based upon the job responsibilities, and we match the people up to those job responsibilities based upon their traits and the way that they're built, we can be so much more efficient, which means we increase cash flow, which will enhance our savings, right? And which will allow everybody to work at a less hours, because sometimes people just have to put in 12 hours because they're doing a job that they're just not cut out for.
That's right. This is going to be so helpful. We've learned so much along the way. I'm anxious to go ahead and jump right in. So let's get to the interview here with Matt White. Welcome into the show, Matt. We are so glad you are here because you are going to solve all of our problems.
And it all starts with you.
You're saying I'm the problem, man?
Yeah, you need to look in the mirror.
Oh.
Everything rises and falls at the top.
It is a little bit awkward being in this place with you right now because it's almost like my deepest, darkest secrets because my culture index score.
Yeah, so I don't like using the words almost and possibly or maybe because I use analytics, so I do know your deepest secrets.
Ooh. But what better is all of Russ's secrets. That's what I'm banking on in this meeting.
I have no secrets. That's the thing. I run my mouth.
The data verifies that. That's for sure.
Well, Matt, you've been digging through analytics for years now, helping teams grow stronger in performance and not working on their gut feeling, right? Because as business owners, we're bottom line driven, but sometimes we start falling on this concept of, I really like Johnny, I really want Susie to make it, but and we'll carry people longer than we have to. Why do you think that we fail to do the right thing?
I think it's a great question. I think number one, as business owners, we have initiative and we started things, and so we just assume other people are like us, right? And so we assume the best, and naturally we believe other people can give it a shot just like we did. But secondly, what I've seen is that the common response is just like you said, I like this person. What do you think about them? I think they do well. Hey, they got a good resume. That's great. Let's give them a shot. And so it's just, let's throw something on the wall that sticks instead of actually looking at what did God design this person to do from an analytical standpoint. And that changes the game when we bring in human analytics to really look at what is this person built to do.
It's really, I mean, it's almost like taking the selfishness out of the deal, in my opinion. Because do you want the wrong person in that seat, even though they could do the job, or do you want the best thing for them, right?
Exactly.
Even if it's somewhere else.
That's right.
Well, I think, almost everyone listening to this has taken some sort of personality test, whether it be DISC, Myers-Briggs, so forth and so on. What is it that Culture Index does specifically that is more intuitive than those, or helps you decipher having the right person in the right seat? Give us some background to that.
Yeah, so just a really high level. The assessment itself is structured differently, and so the internal validity of Culture Index, which means the accuracy of it, is better than anything that's on the market right now. It's not a clinical. I mean, I can't look at it and say, "Hey, Russ, you know what? You have multiple personality disorder."
I can look at that.
But so Culture Index is, from a validity standpoint, is the best thing that's on the market from an accuracy standpoint, which is important. When I'm beginning to make big decisions and pull out my checkbook and make big decisions from a hiring and payroll standpoint, I want to know with a high degree of accuracy what I'm going to get in this person that I'm hiring. Secondly, we're looking at the talent, who the person is, but we're also looking at what are they doing at their job. So I'm able to look at who the person is, and then secondly, how they're being managed. And so we're able to come into an existing team and look and say, hey, this is underutilization, this is a flight risk, and we're able to say you're not maximizing the existing talent that's on your team.
And you may have mentioned this, but I'm just going to clarify. You can also see how they view themselves in their job.
Yeah, and where do they get that?
More important than what we think that they can do.
Well, and that's the thing. What we're able to get at is their perception of what success is. Well, where do they get that from? Number one, the feedback they get from their superior, or the lack of feedback, the team that they're on, or who they have to depend on, or who they're having to suck up and pick up the slack for. So you can learn a lot about the team dynamics from this data.
Well, I heard something the other day, and maybe you can verify this, is that number one reason why people leave jobs right now is lack of job satisfaction. And I think they said 88% of the people clump the fact in that they've left a job. It was lack of job satisfaction. Only 12% stated income. So would you, if that data is accurate, would you think that lack of job satisfaction is probably that they were not being utilized in the proper way?
Absolutely, right? We've all heard it. People don't leave companies, they leave managers.
Yeah.
Right? And why do they do that? Well, because their natural human instinct, and we're actually grown up being taught, hey, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Well, the problem with that is that we know from our data about 5% of the world has your profile. Well, if I naturally treat my employees like I would want to be treated, what's the possibility that all of them are just like me? It's not great.
Yes, that's tough. I mean, when you're as high an influencer as Joey and I are, we're constantly trying to create vision, and look into the future, and we take change on a daily basis. And I know I've struggled with this with our team, and from going back 10 years now, is a lot of people struggle when they're around that constant change that I create. Mm-hmm. And I'm always frustrated as to why are they not more accepting of this? Be more like me.
You should be excited about this,
right?
Yeah. Right. And if we boiled it down to really simplify people, and what we do with Culture Index is that we're able to come in and say, hey, this is a square peg. You have them in a round hole. how much mental energy and effort are they having to expend every day to do a job that they're not built to do? And the same thing with what you're saying. I like change. I mean, you guys are natural born. Have you ever thought about being politicians?
Never in my life.
No.
Well,
I've been asked that
Every
several
time
times.
you see these, campaigns coming around, I'm like, you could not pay me enough to be that joker.
Well,
Whoever, fill in the blank.
if it doesn't work out with Wealth Without Wall Street, I just know from your culture index profiles, you guys could. I mean, you can sell. And
I like the truth too much.
Amen. Well, so Matt, we all are wanting these high performance teams, but like you said, we've constantly been just doing things by the gut. How do we feel about this person when they're in front of us? And that's really challenged me because we don't want people, as much as we don't want to do the activities that we're not really built to do, we don't want people doing the activities that they weren't built to do. Like, how many of us have done that over and over and over again? Like,
well, that's even why I'm here.
Yeah, talk about that a little bit. Your story. I remember you mentioned.
So
that.
I've had the privilege to be involved in fantastic nonprofit ministry here in Birmingham with Iron Tribe Fitness. Almost from the beginning with those guys, and still love and am involved in both of those organizations. And the leadership I received was fantastic. The training I received was fantastic. But there came a point where it was like, I just wasn't really enjoying what I did any longer. And then I'm in this spot where I feel like, man, I should be grateful that I have this opportunity, that I'm a partner in this business, and that I've got a leadership team that I love, a vision I believe in. I had all of that and did not enjoy what I did every day.
Just the day-to-day activities of what you were doing.
Why was that? Well, it's because I was filling a role that I wasn't really built for. I could do it, but I wasn't really built for it. It was the same thing when I was in ministry. It reached a point, and the same thing that happened with Iron Tribe. And once in Iron Tribe, we became clients of Culture Index, which is how we got involved in the first place. But once I saw this data, I began to understand I'm not being discontent. I'm actually doing something that I'm just not really wired up to do. And we had taken DISC, Myers-Briggs, Strength Finders, Colby, and none of that could show me with the accuracy of why I wasn't enjoying what I was doing. And then, like I was telling you guys this morning, I spent time in Ecclesiastes, and at the end of the day, it says, eat, drink, and find enjoyment in your toil. And like, my passion is to come alongside business owners and help them create an environment for their people to find enjoyment in their toil. Because you spend the bulk of your life at work. Man, I want to put people in that position where they come to work enjoying what they're doing.
Yeah, that's huge.
And people need and deserve to be working in that. And us as business owners deserve to have the people in those spots. So you sit down with a business owner and you start going through the numbers and you start asking them, where are you at on this chart? What are the discussions you're having?
Yeah, it typically is going to revolve around top and bottom line first, because as business owners, we could have a great quote unquote culture where everybody loves coming to work, but if we're not making money or if it's all running out the back door, we don't stay in business very long, and you know where that story goes. And so the discussion is always about, are we growing the top and bottom line, and are you hitting your goals? Not even necessarily the company goals. I'm interested to know, for that business owner, are you taking the business where you want it to be? Because you have to be working in and with and through other people. And it always, top and bottom line, always has to do with the people that you have around you and whether or not you've got right people in the right seats.
Well, that's challenging, because the reason you're really here today is that we're talking about our business. Like, you've come to...
That's right.
Everybody who's listening to this podcast has heard us talk about 10Xing, and that is where we're going. We want to reach a much larger, broader audience that is interested in solving the same sort of issues that we're dealing with. And you're here to help us try to figure out a way to build the team, put us in the right spots, because Joey and I do not need to be doing detail-oriented work all day long.
I don't want you touching any of my policies.
It's not good. But there's things that we are struggling with personally, right? That we're doing jobs that we weren't meant to be. You know, we're hitting driver when we should be hitting wedges, right? We're using the tools incorrectly, and we find. I mean, at the end of the day, Joey looks over at me and he sees me sometimes. I'm slumping in my seat. I'm getting tired. I'm getting wore out. Maybe that's my EUs that are low.
It is, yeah, it is.
Which, by the way, so
Those are energy units.
Yeah, there's
anybody's
lots of things that you've taught us through this, but we've got to be in a position that we're utilizing our God-given ability to its fullest. Help me understand, when you're having that conversation with teams, where are most people falling short of that?
So typically for the business owner, they have become used to picking up slack for other people that are not doing the jobs that they need to be doing, because it's easier to do that and work harder than it is to, well, number one, confront the issue, or number two, fire a person. You know, typically what I've seen, most of my clients hire people for what they know, and then they end up firing them for who they are. Or even worse, if they're not confrontational, they say, you know what, we're going to just not really address the issue, and we'll move them. We'll find something else for them, because really I don't have enough courage to, because Jim Collins said, I'm going to paraphrase this, but the moment that you realize somebody's in the wrong seat and you don't take action to move them on, you're robbing them of minutes and hours of their lives that they could be doing something that they're actually better equipped and built for.
Is that from good to great?
Yeah.
Wow. What you just described is the Milton syndrome from Office Space, right? Just fix the glitch. We don't want to confront, right? We tend to avoid. You mentioned an email a second ago. Are you willing to share that on air?
Yeah, sure. I want to give you two examples. One, so I was training a client out west, and is a small construction company. And I told the CEO to fire himself. And he came back and said...
That can't be good for business, by the way.
No, it would be great for this business, because it's a disaster. He's a visionary, and everything he tries to touch with operations falls to pieces, right? Not only did he say thank you, but then I heard through another friend I was having lunch with yesterday that knows this guy, his wife was telling my friend how much she appreciated the freedom that's coming into this guy's life, because he is taking the advice and trying to build people around him so he can go and do what he's naturally wired up for, right? But then also
That's
you mentioned
huge.
the email about confrontation. What I've seen is, like, over time, especially in companies that have been around a little bit longer, they've got some tenure, a culture emerges where underperformance is almost tolerated and then sometimes defended. And it's easier to make excuses for people than it is to confront and deal with the issue. And so the email I was referencing was a client that was catering to one of the employees that has a consistent track record of underperformance, but gets offended very easily. And my email response was, it seems that we're more concerned about whether or not someone who underperforms gets offended than we are about whether or not the company and the people on our team hit our goals. What kind of culture is that? Because I get culture all the time. They say, oh, culture index, we got a great culture. Oh, really? What? Tell me about your culture. Well, we've got our core values. Very important. Culture index has nothing to do with someone's core values, and I tell that from the beginning. Mm-hmm. But what your core values is, like, I think the best illustration for me, I'm a big sports fan, and I love the movie Rudy. I'm small. I was never really good at athletics, but I tried just as hard as Rudy did. And it's like, Rudy, when you talk about culture, like, who embodied Notre Dame football culture better than Rudy? Nobody. But what would happen if they would have started Rudy every game at lineman at 5'7", 180 pounds? They would have had a culture that was a losing team.
Right.
So there's a difference between a values-based culture and performance-based. In other words, do I have the right people in the right seat?
Well, and that's where sometimes we get into this. I want to create an environment of family in the office space. You hear that a lot. We're a family. But I don't remember where I read it or listened to it, but somebody said our offices should not be about family, should be about team. Because as you were talking about Rudy, it's really about winning and losing.
Nailed it. I don't care about being on a team because I want friends. I go to be on a team to win.
Yeah.
And that's what you should be creating here.
And you should be putting the best team member on the court or on the field or in the seat, on the phone, whatever it may be.
Well, and I want to just add this. I mean, obviously there's a cost to do business with Culture Index. But when we look at from a business standpoint, as business owners, the real cost, in my opinion, and that's why we've hired you to do this, is hiring the wrong person, the lost time, the energy expended. Like we've already talked about that a number of times, but we just can't afford that. We cannot afford. If we're going to 10x our business, as Russ mentioned, we have no time to back up and do this twice, 3 times. And that is what consists. I mean, I see it from other people. We've seen it here, and we don't have the time or the energy to expend anymore on that kind of stuff.
You know, typically when people come and they engage me, they say, we've got a hiring problem. So yeah, you probably do. But the reality is you've got a management problem. Because I could help you hire A-level talent all day long, but if you put A-level talent under a B-level manager, the A-level talent eventually leaves. So we say, yeah, we do want to hire the right people. But again, people don't leave companies, they leave people. So if we are not developing the management and the leadership to begin to learn how to use the data to treat other people the way they want to be treated, to change the way that they motivate people and communicate and assign work, that's when you begin to change the existing management and culture of the company, is when the management begins to treat their people the way their people want to be treated and motivated.
Okay, so let me ask a question about that. How involved do you get, or what tools do you provide to help those managers then start treating their teams appropriately?
Yeah. So this is an in-house knowledge-based program is what Culture Index is. Okay, so it's not like a test and you get a summary and it's like, good luck, guys. I'll see you in a year.
Little pat on the back.
That's right. So it's literally, I'm teaching you as the business owners and anybody that goes through the 2-day management workshop, everything I know about Culture Index. And then the rest of the time that we're engaged, it's unlimited consulting, because every time you're making a human capital decision, until you really learn this data, you should be calling me.
Gotcha.
You know, so I mean, I've got some clients that I'm on the phone with every week because they're in major restructure or hiring mode or whatever it is. And then some, once they get it, and it usually takes about 18 to 24 months for a client to like really become independent where they don't need to call me all the time.
Well, and this data is scary accurate. For instance, let's break down Joey.
Okay, why does it have to be me?
What? Because I asked the question first.
You beat me to it. That is not.
Just for our listeners who, by the way, Matt, they know Joey as the Italian stallion, right? And you know they see Joey in a different light than you and I see Joey today, and his short sleeve button up shirt.
Not like a Dwight Schrute shirt,
right?
Okay,
yeah, it's not mustard color, but
come on.
It's definitely still short sleeve button up, and. So help our listeners understand who Joey is. What are the things that the environments in which Joey thrives in? So this is how scary accurate this data is. Break Joey down for us.
Okay, so I never want to read someone's profile to them if I can't make them feel good about it. So I'm gonna have to work hard to do this, but I think I can do it, Joey.
Dang, man, I'm gonna have to go to the emergency room after this.
In all honesty. So I've got a couple of main counselors in my life, and they all have Joey's profile. Not that you need to go be a counselor, but here's what I'm getting at this. When it comes to a care for people, I can measure that. And Joey is more concerned about a team-oriented approach than he is about, I'm the number one person in the world, get out of my way, I'm going to eat and kill everything, right? So he is from a driven approach. He's actually driven for the good of a team in a whole, which is unique. But then he's also, we measure social ability. He's really high on the social ability. So he's got this, he's literally can read and understand people in a way that about 70% of the world can't from a data perspective.
It's like I'm in the Matrix.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
sure. Absolutely.
Just making sure.
But the neat thing and why I mentioned counselor is because he's a creative outside of the box thinker. So when I'm trying to apply this to really what you're doing, like ideas, creativity, vision, Joey's got it. And so when he's thinking and probably listening to people coming in with issues or financial constraints or whatever it is, he's got outside of the box creative thinking that he can offer and bring into that. Now, do you feel okay about that?
Man, that's great. I mean, you're right on.
Good. I want to punch you in the gut. Like, I would never want this guy doing my accounting. I would not want, like, I'm not going to count on him to be like driven on to like get all the details in a row. He can't do it, which is fine. That's what I love about Culture Index is that, man, there's some things that you should be spending 90% of your time doing, and I want to help you do those. The other 10% you got to, every now and then you have to have an admin day.
I wouldn't want to hire me to do my accounting.
Right.
You're right.
But when
Right
it
on.
comes to listening, understanding, empathizing, vision, possibilities, outside of the box thinking, and also you've got literally from what I've seen so far in the data, the best naturally born network building profile in the world.
Man,
He is a networking machine. He really is. But that is beautiful that you're bringing these points to us, and that's the reason why you're here for us. Is that we need more task-oriented people. We need people who can take those details and follow through to the nth degree, because that's not an area our attention span to those things are going to be very small.
Right.
And that's why you're here for us, is that we're trying to build a team environment, trying to grow this on a larger scale. And if Joey and I are having to do things that are outside of our normal God-given ability, we're going to fall short of the vision, which then is going to have us not reaching the people. It's not going to have the numbers that we want to hit. Those are all concerns for us, and we want to achieve. So the person listening to the show right now is trying to say, okay, Matt, this is interesting. I love the way you just broke down the stallion. I knew that he was a counselor just by listening to his like soft, silky voice. That you can envision yourself like. By the way, it's so funny too that you called him a counselor. He's the only business executive that I've met that has a couch in his office. And if I had a couch in my office, it would be because I went to sleep on it. He has it so that
Russ
way
does
he can
go to sleep in my office every once in a while.
People on that thing. that was nice the way you did that.
Just for those of you who are in and around the Birmingham area, I am not going to ask you to lay down on the couch when we meet, okay? But I do have a couch. It's just more comfortable for me. So now, but we got to at least hit on Russ before we wrap this thing up, right?
Mm.
I'm
excited that Russ is still in the room paying attention.
He's got a gnat-like
day
attention span, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like squirrel. Yeah, but again, I mean, you guys are actually fairly similar when it comes to Culture Index profile. Russ is just going to be a little bit more egocentric, which I'm sure you've picked up on for sure.
Absolutely.
He's not aware of it. But that also helps him push a little bit more and you guys can offset each other some. Whereas you're not going to be as aggressive on certain things, but he will. So you'll be able to get like a good yin yang kind of thing going on between you two as business partners. And also you're a little bit of a more methodical approach to things. He's a little bit more spastic. Let's move quick. Let's take action.
Like the guy that called me this morning to say, hey, can you meet me at Smoothie King? And I said, well, I've already got some eggs this morning, Well, I just need you to buy the smoothie. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You didn't have your wallet. Okay, yeah. I've got my wallet. He doesn't have his wallet.
That probably never happens to him, huh? It's speechless. Whoa, I can't believe we got that guy to be speechless.
Man.
Wow. I have this app called Habit Share. And it
I used it one time when I downloaded it and can't remember it. Where it is on the phone.
My Habit Share reminds me every morning around 7:15 to be quick to listen,
How's that working for you?
slow to speak, and slow to anger. So I'm working on that right now.
Well, I'll tell you what. I know we have beat up on Russ, which is we appreciate you being here and at least help me with that. But there's a lot of people that are going to take this and they're going to want to apply it because they're hearing this is what's going to be working for us, and they're looking for solutions like this. So you have been gracious enough to offer up a PDF that they can download, which is tell them a little bit about what's on that so that they can know what to expect.
Yeah, it's just a highlight of some of the data that we measure, and just got my info.
Give them an idea, and that's going to be in the show notes. So go to the show notes. You can download the PDF and learn a little bit more. But then if you're ready to really start to see if this is a fit, they can walk me through this. They go to we're going to put a link in the show notes that they can go to take the actual assessment,
Culture Index survey.
the survey, and then you will follow up with them complimentary, like a 15-minute call just to see if they need to take the next step.
Yeah, so I would say first, like if you're a business owner and you're trying to grow your business, whether that's one hire or one hire a day, you've got to be using some form of psychometrics because other people in your space are using that. And if you're not using it, you're already behind.
Right.
And so by psychometrics, I just mean we're using human analytics and looking at how people think with how they're going to work and perform for you, right? So if you're making one hire, you don't need Culture Index, right? Culture Index is built for companies that are trying to scale their business. And if that's not you, a disc profile is online. It's free. Now, it's not going to be the most accurate because it's free and not copyrighted, so you can get a variety of different stuff. But Colby Index is a good one you could go to. But if you do, you're at 10, 15 employees and you're really wanting to scale, or you're not hitting your top and bottom line, maybe I don't want to grow a lot more, but I want to grow my top line revenue or my bottom line revenue, and I've got to get the right people to help me do that. Then you can go in there, you can click the Culture Index survey. It takes 8 minutes. I'll get a notification. I'll follow up with an email. We'll set a 15-minute time to talk, explain a little bit about the program, read your dots to you, good, bad, the ugly, and see if it's something that you want to move forward with.
And those dots, it is crazy how accurate that you've hit us. And thank you, by the way, for just keeping it just the high points in here, because it could have gotten ugly, especially on my end of the equation. But yeah, if you have a leadership team, if you are trying to grow your bottom line, as Matt said, you have 10 or more employees, you really should do yourself a favor and do that survey. Like, take that quiz, because I would tell you, sometimes as a CEOs, we can kind of think some of these things are hooky, right? Like, look, I've gotten this far and I don't need this sort of stuff to help me. But that's where our gut, our pride is really standing in the way of us really hitting our success. And I know you said you had a tagline. It was, what was it? Analytics over
instincts. Yeah.
Analytics over instincts.
Yeah, that's right where we're at right now. And so that's why we're grateful to have you on the team as a consultant, as somebody to help us scale. And you have brought a ton of value today. So thanks again for being a part of this.
It's been a lot of fun. Thank you.
This has been the Wealth Without Wall Street podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the show to break free of the Wall Street mindset and begin building wealth on your own terms in places you understand, so that your wealth will never run dry. See you next episode.